Democracy has been winning for 200 years. That's the story most of us were told. The data tells a different one, however. For the first time in 40 years, more of the world's population lives under autocracy than under democracy. This is how we got there. 235 years, country by country, every wave and every reversal. In 1789, almost every country on Earth was ruled by a king, an emperor, or a strongman. There were exactly two exceptions: the United States, 13 years old, and France, in the middle of a revolution that would, within 4 years, behead its king, and within 10, install Napoleon as emperor. For the next 40 years, that's basically how the world stays. 2 democracies, 60 autocracies, nothing moving. And then, slowly, that begins to break. The first cracks appear in the 1820s and 30s. Greece breaks away from the Ottomans, Latin America wins independence, Britain reforms itself quietly. None of these become real democracies overnight. Most barely qualify even by 1900. But the pattern is set. The empires that have ruled the world for centuries are starting to slip. Between 1917 and 1922, 4 of them collapse at once. Russia, Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, Germany. Their pieces try democracy for the first time. It doesn't last, however. Mussolini takes Italy in 1922. By 1933, Hitler has Germany. By 1939, Spain falls. Across Eastern Europe, military strongmen take over. Even established democracies like Brazil, Argentina, and Greece slip into dictatorship. By 1942, democracy is barely hanging on outside the English-speaking world. Fascism isn't competing with it anymore. It's beating it. If the Second World War had ended differently, this map would stay mostly red for the rest of the century. The fact that it doesn't is, well, historically close to an accident. Because what happens next is the largest single expansion of democracy in human history. From 1945, 2 things happen at the same time. Western Europe rebuilds as democracies. Germany, Italy, Japan are rewired under occupation, and dozens of new countries appear on the map for the first time as the European empires collapse. India, Indonesia, Ghana, the Philippines. By 1960, almost the entire continent of Africa exists as sovereign nations as well that didn't exist 20 years earlier. Most of these new democracies don't last, however. They fall to military coup, one-party states, civil wars. But the principle that countries should be self-governing never goes back into the box. Then come the 70s, and the map goes red again. But not the parts that you'd expect. In 1974, Portugal overthrows its dictatorship. Spain follows when Franco dies. Greece transitions back. Through the 80s, the dominoes keep falling. Latin America comes back. Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Uruguay. In Asia, South Korea, Taiwan, and the Philippines. Africa also starts to crack open. What makes this wave different from the first 2 is that The autocracies aren't being beaten on the battlefield. They're being abandoned, peacefully, from the inside. Then, between 1989 and 1991, the largest of them all collapses at once. The Soviet Union and most of its satellites dissolve. In 24 months, 27 new democracies appear on the map, the steepest single shift in the entire 235-year dataset. By 2000, more than half the world's countries are some form of democracy. And then it stops. Around 2006, the trend reverses. Not dramatically, not all at once, but measurably. Every year since, the share of the world's countries getting more democratic is smaller than the share getting less democratic. And it's not just authoritarian regimes consolidating. The recession is happening inside democracies. Hungary, Turkey, even India downgrades from a liberal democracy to an electoral democracy, the largest democracy in the world going backwards. Some long-standing democracies in Europe and North America also lose ground. This is the third reverse wave. Most of the gains from 1989 are still on the map, but the direction has turned, and for almost 20 years now, it hasn't turned back. The 235-year story is real. Democracy has spread further than anything before it, but it spread fastest right after the worst war in human history. It contracted hardest right before that war, and it's contracting again now. Where it goes next is still being written.